It's been a very long time since I posted a YouTube video. I'm not gonna lie, see, my last like 3 weeks of pregnancy, as much as I felt okay in pregnancy, I just lost all motivation for everything. That included the gym. I think the last 3 weeks of pregnancy, I think I stopped going to the gym at like 37 weeks pregnant and was just like, I'm kind of over this now. I think it was the festive period, it was winter, it was the time of year, all of it. But that also meant I didn't make any YouTube videos for like a month. So I hope you all had a really nice Christmas, a really nice New Year, and let me preface this video by saying I'm going to talk about my birth story with baby number 2, who is now officially 3 weeks old today, which is wild. Genuinely feel like I just made this video for Blake, which is now like 2.5 years ago. But yes, with all pregnancy and birth related things, obviously this is a really sensitive topic, so I feel like I had a positive experience. Not the most positive. I didn't go again the way that I planned, but it was positive enough that I don't have any like negativity associated with the birth or anything like that. So let me just preface that it's going to be an overall positive chat, and if you are someone struggling with pregnancy, infertility, loss, anything like that, then I'm keeping that in mind for you and wishing you luck going forward in your journey if you're trying to conceive and have a baby. So this birth story I'm going to try and keep a bit more to the point, because last time, Blake's one, I literally talked for like an hour. Who needs to talk about birth stories for an hour? Not me. So long story short, for those that followed along my channel, I have had very lucky pregnancies. Like both of my pregnancies, I've been like low risk, no issues, no like struggles or anything like that. I've managed to keep up going to the gym. I've managed, like, my overall lifestyle has pretty much stayed the same. So I've always been grateful in my 2 pregnancies that I've been able to do that. So leading up to births is where the birth doesn't ever really go to plan. I'm saying ever, it's twice. Doesn't tend to go to plan. And the postpartum is where it seems to get me a wee bit, so we're going to chat about that. But birth story, long story short, I had a baby boy. His name is Freddie. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that. His name is Freddie, and he's officially 3 weeks old. He was born on the 2nd of January. He's actually due on New Year's Eve, so the 31st of December, which, listen to this, right? Blake was due on the 31st of July and born the 2nd of August. Freddie was due the 31st of December and born the 2nd of January. Bit of numerology, if you're into that. I don't really know what that means fully, but they were both due on the 31st and they were both born on the 2nd. Love it. Also, how easy is that to remember? They were both born on the 2nd. I'm never going to forget my child's birthday. But yes, birth story wise, I had 0 symptoms in terms of like labour symptoms leading up to going actually into labour. Like, I never lost any mucus plug, there was no like water breaking at home, there was no like kind of false labour or like contractions or anything happening. On New Year's Day, we actually decided to go and visit like both sets of our parents because it was New Year's Day, and I had 0, so by this point I was already a day overdue, past the due date, and I had 0 symptoms whatsoever that I was going to be going into labour that night. But we were at my parents' house till like 10 o'clock at night, I think, and they were having a party, and honestly I was like, 5 hours after that I went into labour and had 0 indication that that was going to happen. So on the night going into the 2nd of January, then it must have been about 2 o'clock in the morning, I remember waking up and going, I need the toilet. But it kind of like came over me, need the toilet, you know, that's a bit TMI, but that happens because your body actually like tries to just get like everything out, because then a baby's going to try and come out. So went to the bathroom, and then my stomach felt a bit weird, and I thought, is that just a digestion thing, or was that a contraction, or was it a Braxton Hick? Who knows? So anyway, went back to bed, and then like an hour later, around about 3 o'clock, I woke up to like a genuine contraction, and I kind of sat with it, and then 5 minutes later, about 5 or 7 minutes later, another one, and then another one, and within an hour these contractions were happening every 5 minutes, and I thought, just picked up awful fast. This is picked up awfully fast. So I phoned into the hospital because I was going into hospital to have baby. I wasn't planning a home birth or anything like that. The plan was always to go to hospital, especially after my first birth. If you want to watch my first birth story, we'll do a quick synopsis right now, right? First birth with Blake 2.5 years ago. Was in hospital, was in a midwife led unit. It was all like very like aromatherapy, very chill, very like dim light, nice vibes, right? In the hospital though, and I was there I was in labour for like 2.5 days before I had her. She went side to side, back to back, couldn't get her out, needed forceps, and then my kind of postpartum was like grade 3A tear, episiotomy, i.e. like everything was just ripped front to back, side to side, not in a good place, had stitches. I had retained placenta for like 8 weeks, which made me ill. I also required a blood transfusion because I lost so much blood, didn't take it, opted for iron supplements instead, which take a very long time to kick in, as in like 90 days. So I was quite ill after I had like, so my postpartum experience there was not pleasant, whereas this time, thank God, we made sure that placenta came out in one piece. It came out in one piece. Thank you. That was like the one thing going into the hospital. I said to Adam, I was like, your voice in this situation is to make sure that placenta comes out my body and it is intact. Bring a magnifying glass if you must. Make sure it's intact. Anyway, so going into hospital was always on the plan. So we phoned the hospital because the hospital is about between 30 and 40 minutes away depending on traffic, right? Obviously it was 3 o'clock in the morning, but it had also just been New Year's Day. Didn't really expect there to be traffic, but at the same time it's still at least half an hour. So anyway, phoned in and they said, right, it's your second baby, they're 5 minutes apart, you're half an hour away, just come in. Probably best just to come in. So from the point of, we were probably in the house till about 4:30, I want to say, so about an hour and a half. These were like every 5 minutes and they were getting just like stronger and stronger, and I thought this experience is happening a lot faster than I anticipated. So when it gets in the car, that car ride, all I did that whole car ride was just concentrate on breathing. So the only kind of prep I've done for birth was hypnobirthing in terms of the breathing, so like breathing in for 4 and out for 8. If you do anything for yourself, if you're trying to do it without like an epidural or like pain management or anything like that, working on your breathing for birth will be the best thing you do. It allows you to like go with the contractions rather than being like tense and like fighting against it. So it does help, it absolutely does help. I've done it both times and it helps. That car ride, I genuinely thought, I'm not sure we're going to make it to the hospital, because they started getting closer and closer together. Finally get to the hospital and get out of the car, and I had to actually go in a wheelchair. I got in the front door and I was like, Adam, you just push me in a wheelchair. I am not going to make it, because the maternity ward is actually like at the complete back end of the hospital. Stupid move, in my opinion, right? But anyway, in a wheelchair, and he like wheels me along and wheels up, and we go in, and I think they could tell like it was happening, like close together. So they were like, right, urine sample and we'll check to see how dilated you are. I'm okay with checking how dilated I am. Do I want constant checks obviously in there? No, I don't, but you know, I'd like to see what stage I was at. They said I was between 8 and 9 centimetres dilated upon arrival at the hospital, and then I sat in the toilet to do a pee to get a urine sample. Genuinely, the feeling of water breaking, so my water never broke with Blake, they actually had to burst it for me because we're like there for like 3 days by this point. It was bulging, it was all issues. Long story short, I have never experienced water breaking before, and I didn't know what it would feel like. It felt like someone had put a water balloon up there and then burst it. Like it was like explosive. It looked genuinely, and I got a fright, like I literally went like that. And the midwife and Adam were both standing in the room, so the toilet was in the room, and I'd left the door open because I was like, I don't like this situation. And it just like burst and it like hit the toilet. Thankfully I was on the toilet, so there's no mess, but I got a fright because I didn't know. It was as if you had been shot. Anyway, burst out. Anyway, so that was good. The water broke on its own, and then the midwife was like, you're gonna have a baby on the toilet, you need to get out of here and get into the room. It was all like a whirlwind at this point. This was honestly about 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe 5:30 in the morning, so only a couple of hours after the contractions had all started. And I thought, this experience is the complete opposite of what happened with Blake. Like, I'm going to be in and out here in like 3 hours. This is absolutely fabulous. So as much as it was all so fast, I was also like, okay, this is happening, like this is just going to be, like, be over. Joke's on you. That's never the case for me, let's be real. So transferred to the bed and was on like kind of hands and knees situation, kind of over the back of the bed situation. That's kind of where I wanted to be. Did not want to be lying on my back. A, it was horrendously uncomfortable, and B, from looking online, apparently that's not actually the best way to go. So anyway, kind of over this chair, like, oh my god. And the contractions kept coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. Wasn't at like a pushing stage, didn't really feel the need to do that. But required the gas and air. So I tried gas and air when I was in labour with Blake and I just couldn't get it, like I just couldn't work it. Whereas this time, like these contractions were so close together and so intense that I was like, right, I need to do something here, because the breathing alone wasn't quite it. So the midwife was like, try the breathing with the gas and air, so like take it in for 4, then they can like blow it away for 8 type of thing. I have never done drugs in my life, right? Never. I've not even smoked weed in my life, right? I've never done drugs, so I've never been high. I believe this makes you a wee bit high. Honestly, it was almost like a slight, so it doesn't take away the pain, but it kind of gives you a slight outer body experience. Whereas like I kind of felt like, so I could still feel it all and all the rest of it, but it was almost as if I was kind of feeling it through someone else. I don't know how to explain it, right? But it did just take a slight edge off, or that, I don't know if it was just like taking it in with the breathing and everything like that, that's all you were concentrating on. If you're willing to take gas and air, hit up that gas and air. It was fabulous. I would go back. And I did go back, by the way, a week later. We'll get into that. But yes, gas and air, and that was working. It did get to a point where this was like, we were there for basically a few hours after that. She was like, right, I thought you were gonna have a baby on a toilet a couple of hours ago, and now we're still in the same place, still in the same position. We then kind of, I felt like with the contractions I could have started to kind of like try and push. 4 hours later, I pushed for 4 hours. 4 hours with contractions like every 5 minutes. It was a lot, and I was getting to a point where I was like, I am knackered, I am so tired, and just nothing is kind of happening here. Basically the same thing happened with Blake. This baby spun side to side and was trying to go back to back. The issue is, I grow big babies, I just can't get them out because I'm clearly small. So Freddie was actually £9.4. She's a big baby. That's a big baby to try and get out. So then basically the doctor then came in, and she was so nice, and she was kind of having a wee examination as well, and she was like, I think they're kind of stuck side to side, you can keep trying this pushing, I'm not sure it's going to get where you want to be. I tried my best, and it did end up getting to a point where I was like, I need some kind of pain relief here because I'm so exhausted and this is so intense, but I didn't want an epidural, I didn't want like to be numbed. I've already forgotten what it was. I'm going to put it on the screen. Was it morphine? Because it was an injection in my leg, I believe, to help with pain management. It did not help with pain management whatsoever. It did not give me any pain relief. What it did do was slow the contractions down. So it basically sent me backwards. The contractions slowed down, thus trying to push wasn't working. And lo and behold, the doctor comes back in and she was like, I think you need to go to theatre. Again, here's me, please no, didn't want a C-section. I was like, so obviously if I required a C-section, in terms of an emergency, it's the only way it's going to happen, do it, obviously. But I really did not want a C-section. And I knew from the last time that the forceps was not as bad as it sounded. So she said, right, we'll go in and we'll try it with forceps first, because you are pushing and we can see that he's trying to come down, but then as soon as you stop pushing he's kind of slipping away again, which was exactly what happened with Blake. So by this point we're like 10 hours in. We're 10 hours in. And we went along. Long story short, the whole scenario, getting the spinal block, so it's not an epidural but kind of a similar thing. Spinal blocked, ended up with the catheter in, cannula in, on that table, Adam comes in. I must say, every single person in that hospital was 10 out of 10. Not one person made it awkward or uncomfortable or scary or anything. I'd already obviously done the forceps procedure before, so it wasn't as scary this time, but obviously it's still scary because you're getting numbed. They did say, right, we're going to cut you, we're giving you the episiotomy, we'll hopefully try not let you tear again. It was over like that. Couple of pushes. So basically you then have to kind of do a few pushes with the contractions, even though you can't really feel it because you've been numbed, and then as you're pushing they're trying to like pull out with the forceps. Couple of times it was out, he was out. And they say, right, do you want skin to skin immediately? I was like, yes. So they like kind of take your gown, they put the baby in there, they're like, right, we'll delay the cord clamping. So I still got a lot of the things that I did actually want. However, this time I will say, obviously I wanted these things, but I wasn't as strict on it. Like, see with Blake, I was like, I want delayed cord clamping, I want immediate skin to skin, I want this, I want this, I want this. This time I was like, I'm going in with what I would like. But if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. I'm not being as pedantic about it this time, and that was just because you just don't know what's going to happen. So there's no point in having your heart so set on something and then it doesn't happen, because you then feel more disappointed. So anyway, lo and behold, she was like, your blood loss is fine, it's normal. Stitching you up, your episiotomy is nice and clean, no more no tearing past that. Baby's out, baby's good. Everything just went smoothly from a forceps point of view, and yeah, that was it. They wheel you back to so we went back to a ward. It was like a recovery ward type of thing. There was one other person in it, but she was like the other end, and everybody had curtains round, so I didn't even actually know who she was or what she looked like or anything. So Adam and I are in this like ward with the baby, and obviously they then come in and do all the checks. So they like check him over, they weigh him, they do all the stuff. Breastfeeding, again, luckily with Blake I had no issues breastfeeding. She just like went on right away, and I thought, well, you clearly know what you're doing. I don't, but you do. And again, same situation with Freddie, he just like latched right on. So from my experiences, my pregnancies and my breastfeeding experiences are so smooth, and I'm so lucky for that. The births obviously go a wee bit ski with the forceps, and obviously last time with Blake I had all those issues postpartum. That was the birth story, and it went obviously as pleasantly as I feel like it could. We then obviously got transferred to our own room, and we were just like in this room, and you're just in this wee bubble, and you're just like, great. I then stayed the night, because by the time it was, I think by this point it was like 6 o'clock at night. I actually can't remember what time he was born. I'll need to check. So then Adam left at like, I don't know, 8, 9 o'clock at night. I stayed the night. They take all your observations like overnight, so every like 2 hours they were coming in, they were checking you and making sure you're okay. They do your blood pressure, they take blood. Not every 2 hours they take the blood. They do your pulse, they do all this. They do all the stuff. I still had the catheter in at this point, so they said to me, we'll take your catheter out at like 6 in the morning. And you have 6 hours to be able to pee. If you pee and you feel good tomorrow, you can go home tomorrow afternoon / evening, and that's that. If you cannot pee, you don't get to go home. So flash right forward to the next day. 9 hours I tried to pee and I couldn't pee. She was like, I'll give you a couple extra hours since you're like in good health other ways. I couldn't pee. So I had other visitors coming, and then I had to stay another night, which actually I wasn't that mad about, because it was nice and peaceful, it was nice and quiet. It's just you and your baby, and you're just chilling, and you still get observed, which I quite like. I think once you go through something like birth, having an extra set of observations done, it's quite nice. It's quite nice just to make sure you're A-okay, just especially after last time. So that was us. We eventually, next morning, Adam came back up with Blake and we got to go home, and that was it. It was nice and smooth and seamless. Obviously so tired, stomach just this like empty squishy ball, and stitches are just like the worst part, because you just can't sit comfortably. I say they're mostly healed now. We're at like 3 weeks later, and I would say just like now and then I go, oh, like a wee niggle, but they're not overly tender or sore or anything like that. That was all nice and smooth, and just an overall positive experience, right? Overall, obviously forceps not ideal, but that's what it was. 6 days later, so that was a Friday. On the Thursday, I went to bed the night before, and I thought, oh, my stomach doesn't feel right. And I couldn't work out if it was like indigestion, needing the toilet, if it was a bit of cramping. The thing is, when you obviously have a baby, your uterus is trying to shrink back down, so it's trying to come back down to its pre-pregnancy size. It takes a long time to do that, but obviously at the start it's like, especially if you breastfeed, it really sends your uterus going, right? On Thursday, I woke up and was like, my stomach just is not in a good place. I started feeling like stabbing pains, and it was there till about 11 in the morning, and I thought, oh my god, I'm just going to phone up the hospital just to see, is this normal, is it not? Gave them a phone, and she was like, it depends the severity of the pain. Take painkillers like paracetamol, ibuprofens, see how you feel. If that doesn't help or improve, or it gets worse, come in and we'll check you. I must say, like, the hospital are so good. Like, they're so good. They're just like, yes, come in, we'll check you, we'll make sure everything's okay. Couldn't fault them. Took painkillers. It was about 2 hours later, and no, it went from like stabbing pains at like a 4 to a 5 to like a 6 to a 7. I was like, no, this is horrendous stomach pain, I need to go. So off we went to the hospital. I was sick in the car. The pain was honestly, I felt like I was going back into labour. It was so bizarre, it was so strange, I couldn't explain it. I was like, oh my god, like Adam, I genuinely feel like I'm about to have another baby. Like, what is happening? Went into the hospital and kind of sat through it for like 10 minutes until it was my time to go in, and went into the room, did a urine sample, and then lay on the bed, and the woman was just chatting to me. She was like kind of feeling around, and she was like, right, okay, I'm going to go and get X, Y and Z and see what's going on. She's like, but first we'll move you to another room, because they kind of just put you in like a triage room first, and then they move you depending on what's going on. I went from lying down and like feeling like a 6-7 pain to going to sit up. And when I sat up, I feel like somebody reached into my body and was trying to pull my insides out. I couldn't stand up. My stomach was literally like you could see it. It was vibrating, and it was like the pain went from like a 6-7 to like a 12. A 12 out of 10. I've never experienced a pain like this. The only way to describe it was as if you'd got to the peak of a contraction and it sat there. Instead of being like a wave and it coming and going, it sat at the peak of a contraction, and at the same time my stomach was like, but literally, like I was looking at it and it was vibrating and shaking. I thought my insides were falling out of my body and they were being ripped out by some kind of ghost that I couldn't see. I started panicking. She had to go and get Adam to come in and be like, something's going on, we don't know what it is. She also then went to get like a doctor and all the rest of it, and I genuinely in that moment was like, I think my whole insides are falling out and I'm going to die. I was crying. It was overwhelming. It was constant pain with no like break. My stomach was literally doing this, and I honestly thought my insides were falling out, and I honestly thought someone was trying to kill me. Is what, like the pain was, I've never felt. The labour did not feel as painful as this. So I was like, I'm going to need that gas and air to get through this. So we got the gas and air back again. It did help. The doctor came in and she was like, well, we're going to check to see if there's any retained product in there, checking for tissue, check your bleeding, look at your cervix. This was not even a week postpartum, and they're in there with the speculum. They're looking in there. The pain, I can't describe it. It was as if like I was clenching my jaw. I'm clinging onto this gas in the air for life. I'm clinging on to Adam for dear life. I was honestly like, I am going to die from this pain. Like, you need to knock me. I kept saying, you need to knock me out, because I'm going to pass out. I'm genuinely going to pass out, that you need to knock me out. And they were like, I can't do that. And I was like, please. Awful. I'm laughing about it. Genuinely at the time. And even Adam's face, he was like, what's going on? What's going on? Because I'm not a dramatic person with pain. I don't like to think I over dramatise, and he actually said that to the doctor. He was like, by the way, this is legit, whatever's going on here, she is feeling that. Wow. Anyway, long story short, the doctors concluded it was what they call after pains, whereby your uterus contracts so intensely trying to shrink back down that you genuinely feel like you're in labour again. But it can actually be worse than childbirth pains. Why did they not tell you that? And it gets worse the more children you have. So obviously this is my second child. Wow. In the end, I think I needed morphine and muscle relaxers, and then taking home a load of ibuprofen, muscle relaxers and paracetamol. I'm not someone that likes to take medication, right? I needed this medication so badly. Like, I genuinely thought that I was going to die, without a word of a lie. But took the medication, obviously took the morphine in the hospital, but you can't take morphine home. It improved within like the hour of being in the hospital, like taking this medication. It improved. It was coming and going. It was more like contractions coming and going every like maybe like 10-15 minutes or so, compared to level 12, thought I was going to die, constant pain. But yeah, then finally went home a couple of hours later and just regularly took like the muscle relaxers and ibuprofens and paracetamols, and within a few days it settled right down. I'm saying a few days because it was very tender, and every now and then it kind of tried to like start up a bit again, but at the same time, like obviously your uterus is trying to shrink back down post birth, so I didn't want to like overly take the muscle relaxers. I took them maybe like once or twice a day when it was getting a bit like woof. but obviously you want your uterus to be contracting and shrinking back down. We are now 3 weeks later and we are in a nice bubble at home. Everything is good, everyone is good, and yeah, trying to adjust to a new normal with 2 children, which I'll do a whole Q&A maybe next week or the week after on just like life, but that is my birth story and my horrendous after pain story, but everything put together in one. If you are due a baby, do not be freaked out at all by anybody else's birth story, because yours is never going to be the same as anybody else's at all. But thank you guys so much for watching. I apologise for my hiatus on YouTube for the past month, but here we are, 2026. 2026.